Shalom, shalom, everyone. This is your girl Sade, and basically, I'm here to do another slide. I love doing slides, so I try to sometimes, you know, drop some videos. I think I'm gonna start dropping more videos because I do have a list of videos I would like to drop. But anyway, let's get to the slideshow. Today's slideshow is going to be on the Hebrews, aka Negros, was on the walls of Egypt as slaves, and plus, basically, this whole slideshow is just based is Hebrews, aka Negroes, from Hebrew, aka to Negroes. So went from being a people of status to a people of servitude up until this very day. So let's start with the first slide. If you look to the right, to the left, you'll see at the bottom right, you'll see that's on the walls of Egypt where there are slaves being taken into captivity. If you look to the left at the very top, you see a statue of a slave as well. So let's go to the right bottom. It says, when the Negros races first made their appearance on the monuments of Egypt, it is in the relation of slavery, sometime indeed of captivity, but more commonly of established slavery. Now, this comes from a book called Critical or Annal of Literature, dated 1874 to 02 to 1902, volume 57. You can find this on the it's called archive.com, and you can kind of like any books that a lot of these books are really expensive. So I probably almost 100% of the time find them on that website. You can download them because of PDF. It has the option of PDF download, and most of mine are couch PDF download. But when I go to search for some of these books, they are very expensive. So I pretty much just stay on that archive page. I'm downloading them in a PDF form. Okay, so the next slide. This here, it says to the left, Hebrew Israelite slaves in ancient Egypt. As you can see at the bottom, they are making bricks um, out of clay. And it's obvious they are melanated people. So to the right, it says at the very top title, Negro, aka Hebrew slaves at all times. It says this until we come down to our own times was therefore the universal status of our people. It's a universal status. And even as of today, we know that blackness is anti-blackness all over the world. Everybody on the face of this earth hate us. And the Bible told us, Yahshua HaMashiach said that we will be hated of all nations. So that means everywhere where we are scattered in every nation, because the Father said He will scatter us to the four corners of the earth, which He did. So every nation where we are today, every nation where our ancestors was scattered, and we, the descendants, are hated in every nation. That's just a fact, y'all. That's a fact. People want to, kind of like sugarcoat it, but it's just fact. Anyway, it says Thebes, Memphis, at Babylon, where our ancestors slaves, Nineveh, Rome. Well, let me go back. It says slaves at the very top in black. It says slaves then when Karnak and Luxor were built, slaves in Europe, Asia, and Africa, slaves in Thebes, Memphis, and Babylon, slaves in Nineveh, slaves in Rome, slaves in Athens, slaves in Carthage, and slaves in Constantinople, and Havana, and Richmond. We were, get this off here. We were always slaves and in all places under all forms of government. Up until this day, we're still slaves. We are not free. We think we're free. We are not free people. And we know why, because Yahshua HaMashiach has returned to restore us and to save us from all our enemies, as it says in Luke 1, Luke chapter 1, starting from verse 76 on until the end of the chapter. So we'll read Luke 1, 76 on through, and it tell you that Yeshua is coming to save us from our enemies, not our sin. Our sin is an option. Slavery is not. We're forced into slavery. You can make a choice, and you have the choice of choosing if you want to sin or not. But you don't have, when you are oppressed people with no government, with no um, financial stability, we have no kind of power. So we're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, I digress. Let's go to the next slide. It says he Negro, aka Hebrews, are the same. Negro, aka Hebrews, same people. Now to the right, I don't know if this is I don't know if this is them being I don't think it's them leaving Egypt. I think this is slavery because first I thought this was them leaving Egypt, but I'm looking at what this man is look like he's throwing a whip at the people. So I'm like, can this be can't be them leaving Egypt and they're whipping them? So I'm thinking that just a slave because they're pulling this big old hauling this big old um um statue right here, lion of the lion. So, anyways, it says we were under every modification of society. Now, this is also coming from the critical um, or annual of literature, 1784 to 1902, volume 7. This quote also comes from that book. It says, actually, this one is from Southern Literature Messenger, 1860. This particular quote right here. It says, we were under every modification of society, under every conceivable combination of circumstances. Slavery seemed to have been emphatically the history of our race, or their race, the book was saying. And who, thrusting himself into divine counsel, will undertake to say that slavery is not their doom. Slavery is not our doom, although we've been in slavery ever since we left the Most High. Our ancestors, and still today we won't turn back. It says, we are also told that the Negro was a stranger in Egypt, right? An alien in a foreign land. And that in the ancient world, the alien was unformally regarded as an enemy. Are we enemies today? In every nation on the face of this earth, they see us as enemy. They attack us 24/7. We live in their mind. That's it. That is a demonic perpetual hatred that I can't even begin to understand. It says, regarded as enemy, then and still now, and was commonly reduced to slavery, and that the relation in which he appears on the monument of the Nile resulted from his position as an alien. Talking about in Egypt. Egypt was on the Nile River. Talking about the Negroes. Negroes, the Negroes. Again, this is coming from Southern Literary Messenger, 1860. You can find that on the archive.com. Okay, so the next slide. Slide 4. Now, this is also coming from Critical or Annal of Literature, 1784 to 1902. So at the left, you see there are Negroes with chains around their neck, and that's plainly specified in Deuteronomy 28. So let's go look about our ancestors. This was Judah going to captivity of the Assyrians. So they have their hands up, just representing they go into slavery. They acknowledge their slavery, that they're slaves. At the very top, you have more current. Our people was chained in Britain, in the Congo, all over the earth, and that's from the transatlantic slave trade as well as the Arab slave trade. But then you had other countries still going to Africa, you're enslaving people. And until this day, look what they're over there trying to do to Niger, Niger, Burkina Faso, and the other country, the three alliances, they became three alliances, sovereign countries, still trying to keep these people under servitude. So the only way we're going to be delivered is when going back to Luke 1, when he said he's going to come and save us from all our enemies. That's what he's going to save us from. And because we need to be, if anybody on the face of this earth need to be saved from the enemies, us. Okay, so the next, okay, then it says, Negro, aka Hebrews, the same servitude, nothing has changed, still under the curse. Prince Henry colonies were enlarged by his face-offs. King John II in 1492 expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas, which had been discovered in 1471, and to others Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa, and from their banished Jews, the Black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Longo, who are despised, even by the very Negroes, are descended. By the colonists, St. Thomas soon became a considerable place of trade and valuables for its sugar plantation. I think the sugar plantation is found like in Jamaica. What was the other place? Oh my goodness, Jamaica. Can't think of that place. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I'll come back to me. Not in Jamaica, but it's another place, and I just can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it. Well, I can't remember it. Let's go to the next slide. And this book is this also was taken from Critical or Annal of Literature, 1784 to 1902. That was also this quote was also taken from that book. Okay, it says here, Negro, aka Hebrews, the Black Jews of Portugal. Portuguese became better acquainted with the African region and their valuable productions. Prince Henry founded the first Guinea company that settled factories in the fortress of Orban and got the exclusive privilege of trading with the Arabs. See, with Arab slave trade and the transatlantic slave trade, and also the Portuguese slave trade. Well, not Portuguese slave trade, but they were involved in this and the transatlantic slave trade was obviously Arabs as well. It says the trade soon increased, for that in 1455, not less than 700 or 800 Negroes, slaves were annually exported to Lisbon. Now remember that Lisbon earthquake, and it also had. There's a story. I looked at the movie and it was showing how the slaves, which they portrayed them as white people, that they were slaves and they were the Jews, um, but that one of the high priests, said that it was a judgment against them for persecuting and killing the slaves. Anyway, it says not less than 700 or 800. You ought to go check that movie out because of Lisbon earthquake. Not less than 700 or 800 Negro slaves were annually exported to Lisbon. At length, the Portugal in 1471 discovered the Gold Coast, and ever since the intercourse between Portugal and Guinea was continued. Slavery was continued. At the bottom here it says a slave couples passing the capital. So I guess they're um, leaving the capital or just leaving slavery. I don't know if they were released or running. Anyways, slide. Okay. Negro, aka Hebrews, the Black Portuguese Jews. It says the Portuguese, and this also is from the same book, Critical or Annal of Literature, 1784 to 1902, volume 57. Again at .com, sorry, government. Negro, aka Hebrews, the Black Portuguese Jews. It says Portugal endeavored to exclude other nations from Guinea, while the rest of the European navigators were in spite of paper and all the reports industriously spread of the pretended danger of that coast, striving to get a share of that profitable gold trade. It was all about gold and all about taking our people into captivity and also building their nations. And so evil. Anyway, I digress. The discovery of the Gold Coast served, indeed, yet more to enlarge the cipher of the navigation of the Portuguese. than their slave trade, but it forced them also to extend themselves on the coast and to settle colonies in Congo. So there was Jewish colonies in Congo, Jewish colonies all on the coast of Africa. There's a map. Um, it's called the it's by, oh my God, I can't think of the man's name. But then there's a map showing all the different Jewish colonies on the continent of Africa. I have the book, but I just can't. I haven't picked it up in a while. I can't remember it. It's called the Lost Tribes. Anyway, it says, let's go back here. It says Congo, Angola. No, let's go back here. It says the discovery. The discovery of the Gold Coast served, indeed, yet more to enlarge the cipher of the navigation of the Portuguese than their slave trade, but it forced them also to extend themselves on the coast, which they did, and to settle colonies in Congo. So the Portuguese Jews that they took on St. Thomas, which is in West Africa, they set up colonies of Jewish, but they're not Jewish, but the colony of the Israelites, um, um, and set them on the coast of all coast of West Africa. See, it's Gambia, um, Ghana, Congo. um, they're also in Senegal. They're also in Benin. So in West Africa, Slave Coast and Ivory Coast and Gold Coast is where the colonies were set on this map online. It says Congo colonies, here right here, colonies, Congo, Angola, and other places which they had till then neglected. It says Prince Henry colonies were enlarged by his successors, King John II in 1492, expelled all the Jews to the island of St. Thomas, that's in West Africa, which had been discovered in 1471, and to other Portuguese settlements on the continent of Africa. And from these banished Jews, the Black Portuguese, as they are called, and the Jews in Longo, who are despised even by the various Negroes, are descended. I think I read it on another part of this. Um, Here's the other slide. Let's go to the next slide. The Black Jews of Portugal or Portuguese continued. Negro, aka Hebrews. It says, who were despised even by the very Negroes, are descendants by these colonies. St. Thomas soon became a considerable place of trade and valuable for its sugar plantation. 30 years later, settlements, not less than 150,000, there should be 56,000, or robes of 30 pounds weight each of sugar were exported, and the engine of 60 sugar works, trained by slaves. These Negroes were purchased in Guinea, Congo, Mali, or should I be Mali, Congo, and the colonists had plantations furnished with from 150 to 3,000 Negro slaves. Wow. And look to the right, those are the Black Jews. Oh, the Black Portuguese Jews. Boy, they just really messed us up, I tell you. I'm gonna read something from another book, but I'm gonna wait till I finish the slide real quick. It says, and this is also taken from again, Southern literature, no, not critical or annal of literature, 1784 to 1902. That's where I get most of this information from. So next slide. Now this particular information was taken from a book called The Hebrews of Our West African Ancestors. And you can find that in fact, it's on Amazon. I think it's on Amazon. No, it's not on Amazon. They're out. So what I did was, again, I went to archive.com and download it on PDF as well. It says of the Hebraism in Black Africa, Negro, aka Hebrew. It says elsewhere in the series on Dahomey, Professor Joseph Williams talks about map published in a 1970 edition of the Memoirs of the Reign of Bassa al-Hadi, King of Dahomey, by Robert Norris. It was an eyewitness account. The map showed in both the English and French edition designate the region surrounding the town of Wada or Judah as the country of the Jews. In fact, the town itself is called Judah or Wida. Here we have visible evidence of a Jewish population living in the very parts of Black Africa. As we have seen, the entire area beyond the immediate region of Wida also is rooted in Hebrew, Hebraic tradition, which he was able to recognize. Again, this comes out of a book called The Hebrews of Our West African Ancestors. And we're looking at our ancestors to the right. That's look like the kingdom of Dahomey, which again, I'll telling you about this map. Um, it's called the Lost Tribes. Yes. And there's a map in regards to that. I wish I had put the on me. I won't go dig for it, but I do have it. Maybe I'll pull it after the end, after I end my slides. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This has also come from West Africa ancestry, ancestors, the Hebrew of our West African ancestors. So Ghana and Nigeria Jews. It says Ghana, we are told by the Reverend Christian Rudolph, a Black pastor of the Bayside Mission on the Gold Coast, about the high priest of Agua people he asserts. A close inspection of the priest and his officiating garbs leads to the conviction that his worship must be of foreign origin. One is inclined to support that the Jewish system of worship in the Old Testament style has been either introduced by or imitated from the people who came out first to the Gold Coast. Nigeria GT Basin was for many years a missionary among the Igbo. These people lived mainly in the southern region of modern Nigeria, though they can be found scattered throughout the entire country. Of course, we're scattered. Because these people are largely non-Muslim, it is likely that their ancestors were among the slaves transported to America and the West Indies. That's why I want the West Indies. There was another sugar plantation, I think, no, it's tobacco plantation, I think the West Indies was. But that's the name I was trying to think of earlier. So these are Nigerian Jews right here. Ghana and Nigerian Jews. The thing is, we're the same people, but when they conquered the land in 1844 at the Berlin Conference, they just chopped up Africa like a chocolate cake. And a lot of those lands unto themselves for hundreds of years. They just stole the resources, took the resources and left African people until this day just dry and poor. Well, they're just not dry and poor and still have their resources and minerals. It's just they need to learn how to process for themselves and trade among themselves. I see Africa rising up out of that too. It says the Levite account of the Jews, of the rights and of the Jews. Now, this also comes from the Hebrew of our ancestor, or the Hebrew of our West ancestors. As his body should they rise, awake and see ye that dwell in the dust, for that dew is as the dew of earth. Isaiah 26:19, it says, now I defy all the advocates for the doctrine hypothesis to reduce any one substantial argument, to invalidate the clearness of the resurrection, and as the prophet Isaiah prophesied almost 200 years before the prophet Ezekiel. For he received the oral law from Amos in the year 3140, which is just 192 years before Ezekiel received it from Jeremiah. This will carry us up as high as the year 786 before Christ and 32 years before the building of Rome. So this is just a Levite account that is saying in Isaiah 26:19 that the prophet prophesied about Yahshua HaMashiach, our Savior. That's what this writing is talking about right here. Also in the book of Ezekiel, Amos is saying that Yeshua was prophesied to come and to redeem his people, which that's what he came to do. And he died for his people because my thing is this, Yeshua always said that he was sent by the Father. Sent by the Father for what? What was his end result? He died. So the Father sent Yeshua to his people to die for them to redeem them back. Okay? So just a fact, y'all. I can give you so many scriptures, but I'm not dealing with scriptures right now, just this history stuff. But I could show you a lot of scripture. In fact, I think I do a slide on that. John 3:16. There's so much out there about John 3:16. I don't need to do that. So anyway, next slide. I digress. Okay, so this is also coming from Critical Review or Critical or Annal of Literature, 1784 to 1902. Yeah. So and it says Levite account of the rights and of the Jews, Negro, aka Hebrews. It says, and from the manner in which the prophet made use, this is a continuation of the gentleman earlier from the prior slide, and from the manner in which the prophet made use of the foregoing passage may be deduced the following proposition that the doctrine of the resurrection was well known to the Judean nation or Jewish nation long before his time. In exciting the Jews to have confidence in Elohim and not to despair on account of their captivity. And that's what we should be. We should not be in disparity right now, especially right now in the last day. We know the Most High is about to come and finish up this stuff. Evil, wicked world. It says that, let me go back right here where it says, I think I'll go back right here. So to reduce of the following proposition that the doctrine of the resurrection was well known to the Jewish nation, the Judean nation, long before his time. For in exciting the Jews to have confidence in Elohim and not to despair on account of their captivity and the troubles and affliction which they had suffered therein. For tell them that Elohim will redeem them and also punish those that had oppressed them. And in the speaking of the punishment of their oppressors, say in particular, or say in particular, should be say, in particular, they are dead, they should not live, they are deceased, they should not rise. Or rise, that should be rise. Because the writing is kind of funny in the books on the archive. F stands for S. And then at the bottom where I said, they shall not rise, there shall not rise, R-I-S-E. And I thought I corrected all of that to put it in more of a modern terms and letters, but yeah, that's the way they write those old books back then. It's kind of weird. Deporting the people of the Elamites, so to writers has shown the Elamites being deported again through the Syrians, deporting them. So this right here, I'm gonna go back to the slide before that. So this is what Jeremiah was saying. And from the manner in which the prophet Jeremiah made use of the foregoing passage may be deduced of the following proposition that the doctrine of the resurrection was well known to the Judeans or Jewish nations long before this time, for exciting the Jews or Jews to have confidence in Elohim and not to despair on account of their captivity and the trouble and affliction which they should suffer therein until the very end. Foretells them that Elohim would redeem them and also punish those that had oppressed them. And in speaking of the punishment of their oppressors, says in particular, they are dead. Well, I guess talking about the oppressors, they shall not live. Talking about the oppressors, they are deceased, they shall not rise. Amen. Hallelujah. Okay, that came from Critical or Annal of Literature, 1784 to 1902. I didn't put what page, but that's the book I got it from. Next slide. This is the last slide. It says Levite account of the rights and of the Jews. This is the prophet mentioned as the greatest punishment, which is Jeremiah and also Ezekiel, goes into all the books. The prophet mentions as the greatest punishment that can possibly be inflicted upon them, in which in comforting of the Jews, he tells them should not be their state. Hence, it is plain that the doctrine, I don't know how that. I think what I did was in the little block is also so many words you can put in it, and I think I kind of messed that up right there. So, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this slide. I think that was it. So I say you all shalom. Have a blessed evening, and again, I hope you enjoyed the slides. Thank you, and have a blessed day.